connection to that deadly shooting at the Outlaws clubhouse.
No outlaw motorcycle club rises to power without facing rivals. For the Big Four, Hells Angels, Outlaws, Bandidos, and Mongols, conflict was inevitable. Their wars have shaped biker history, leaving a trail of violence, brotherhood, and betrayal. Hells Angels vs. Outlaws. One of the longest-running rivalries in biker history is between the Hells Angels and the Outlaws. The feud began in the 1960s, when both clubs started expanding across the U.S. Their territories overlapped, leading to brutal clashes. By the 1970s and 80s, their war turned deadly. In the Midwest and East Coast, shootouts, bombings, and ambushes became common. The Outlaws' motto, "God forgives, Outlaws don't," reflected their determination, while the Angels used their global network to fight back. Even today, their rivalry continues in parts of Europe and America. Hells Angels vs. Mongols. The Mongols were formed because Hispanic riders were not accepted into the Hells Angels. This rejection planted the seeds of hatred. By the 1970s and 80s, the Mongols and Hells Angels were locked in violent battles in California. The 1990s brought the most infamous clashes, including shootouts in bars, streets, and even casinos. One of the most famous incidents was the Laughlin River Run riot in 2002, where Hells Angels and Mongols fought inside a casino, leaving several dead and dozens injured. To this day, the Mongols are considered the Hells Angels' deadliest rivals. Bandidos vs. Hells Angels. The Bandidos and Hells Angels share one of the fiercest rivalries, especially in Europe. In the 1990s, their conflict in Scandinavia became known as the Great Nordic Biker War. Over 4 years, more than 100 incidents took place: grenade attacks, shootings, car bombs, and assassinations. By the time the war ended, at least a dozen people were dead, and many more injured. Despite peace agreements, tensions remain high between the two clubs worldwide. Other rivalries and conflicts. The Outlaws vs. Bandidos have clashed over territories in the U.S. South. The Mongols vs. Bandidos occasionally collide in Latin America and the U.S. Southwest. Smaller support clubs, known as puppet clubs, are often pulled into these wars, making conflicts even bloodier. Impact of the rivalries. These wars weren't just about territory. They were about pride, loyalty, and dominance. Each victory or defeat became part of the outlaw legend. For law enforcement, these conflicts were proof that outlaw motorcycle clubs weren't just social groups, they were organized, armed, and dangerous. From the very beginning, outlaw motorcycle clubs attracted the attention of law enforcement. Their growing involvement in crime, drugs, weapons, extortion, and violence forced authorities to treat them not as just biker gangs, but as organized crime syndicates. Early attention 1950s to 1970s. In the 1950s and 60s, most clashes between bikers and police were small, bar fights, riots, or public disturbances. But by the 1970s, police realized these clubs were deeply connected to larger criminal networks. Drugs like methamphetamine and cocaine became key sources of income. The FBI started investigating the one percenters more seriously. Major crackdowns 1980s to 1990s. The 1980s and 90s were the golden era of crackdowns. U.S. agencies like the FBI, ATF, and DEA launched massive operations. They used undercover agents, wiretaps, and informants to infiltrate biker clubs. Operation Rough Rider 1985 to 1987, a 2-year undercover investigation targeting the Hells Angels. It led to over 100 arrests. Project Duel Canada, 1990s, targeted the Quebec biker wars between the Hells Angels and Rock Machine, leading to mass arrests. Operation Black Biscuit 2001-2002, the ATF infiltrated the Mongols, collecting huge evidence of drug and weapons trafficking. These operations proved that outlaw motorcycle clubs weren't just rebellious riders, they were organized, international networks. International crackdowns. Law enforcement worldwide began to follow the U.S. model. In Australia, police formed special task forces like Strike Force Raptor to target the Bandidos and Comancheros. In Europe, Germany banned many Hells Angels chapters, while Scandinavia cracked down hard after the Great Nordic Biker War. In Canada, the megatrials of the 2000s put dozens of bikers behind bars for organized crime. Law versus Brotherhood. Despite arrests, prison sentences, and chapter shutdowns, outlaw motorcycle clubs have survived. Their structure, loyalty, brotherhood, and secrecy makes them difficult to destroy completely. Even when leaders are jailed, new ones rise. Law enforcement may weaken them, but the culture of rebellion keeps them alive. For many, joining an outlaw club isn't about money, it's about identity. That is something no crackdown can fully erase. Outlaw motorcycle clubs are more than gangs, they are a culture. A way of life built on loyalty, freedom, and rebellion. To outsiders, the leather vests and roaring Harleys may look like style, but for members, every symbol carries deep meaning. Culture and symbols. The culture of outlaw bikers is instantly recognizable. The patch colors. Each club wears a three-piece patch showing their name, logo, and territory. It is sacred, earned after years of loyalty. Losing it is worse than death. Motorcycles. Traditionally, Harley-Davidson bikes are the heart of the culture, loud, customized, and powerful. Brotherhood rituals. Meetings, rides, and parties aren't just social, they reinforce unity and hierarchy. For many members, the club is not a hobby, it is their entire identity. Brotherhood and loyalty. The strongest bond in outlaw clubs is brotherhood. Members call each other brothers, and loyalty is absolute. The phrase, blood in, blood out, symbolizes how hard it is to join and how impossible it is to leave. This brotherhood replaces family for many. Members trust their club more than anyone else. If a brother is in trouble, the whole club stands behind him, no matter the cost. Lifestyle, freedom and rebellion. To members, being an outlaw biker means rejecting mainstream society. They live by their own rules, valuing freedom above all. The open road, the rumble of engines, and the sense of not being controlled, this is the outlaw dream. But this freedom also comes with danger. Violence, prison, and death are constant companions. Yet for those who embrace it, the outlaw life is worth the risk. Legacy and influence. Outlaw motorcycle clubs have left a permanent mark on global culture. In movies, books, and music, they are symbols of rebellion. From Easy Rider to Sons of Anarchy, pop culture romanticizes them. In fashion, leather jackets, patches, and biker boots became mainstream. In crime history, they are studied like the mafia or cartels. Despite police crackdowns and public fear, outlaw clubs continue to inspire both fear and fascination. The eternal image. The true legacy of outlaw motorcycle clubs is this: they are legends of rebellion. To some, they are criminals. To others, they are free men who live by no one's rules but their own. One thing is certain, the roar of their engines and the brotherhood they built will echo for generations. Outlaw motorcycle clubs are not just a story of crime. They are a story of loyalty, freedom, and the eternal human hunger for rebellion. And that's the story of the outlaw motorcycle clubs, the culture, the brotherhood, and the legacy that refuses to die. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more stories about biker history, gangs, and underground culture. Your support keeps this channel alive. Ride safe, and I'll see you in the next video.